those of you who were just paying attention may have noticed that I was doing a stream for quite a few minutes, and there was in fact no audio of any kind. So that took a little while for me to pick up on. My bad. Just going to make sure that people are definitely getting audio and such now. Somebody's watching on Facebook, so hopefully somebody can respond shortly. Yep, audio and video is a go. Fantastic. All right, so to cover it off, I've never read any Terry Pratchett. This will be notable for some people because I've been involved in two Terry Pratchett films, Run, Rinse, Wind, Run and Trollbridge. I've met Terry. Well, I've had drinks with Terry. Never ever actually read any of his works. So the other day, I finally decided, yes, I'm going to sit down, read some Terry Pratchett. And I was largely actually inspired by the director of Terry Pratchett, the director of those two films I mentioned, because he started playing a Discworld point-and-click adventure game and twitching it, which is a big part of what inspired, like his Twitch is a big part of what inspired me to actually finally start my own Twitch. And I was watching his Terry Pratchett playthrough, and I was just like, you know what? I am actually enjoying this. But one thing I particularly enjoyed was those shared experience moments, which I figured sharing it would enhance the joy of Terry Pratchett to me as well, or at least fuel me actually sitting down and reading it even more. And it occurred to me that actually, if I have any complications with game day, which is what we've had today, Liam ordered some food. It hasn't arrived yet. He's got a bunch of things going on at the moment, so the stream has been delayed. He'll let me know when he's actually ready to start running. And I figured, you know what? Let's just start doing some reading of Guards. So, please sit back, join me for the next either 15 minutes or an hour or whatever. We'll find out exactly how long this will go for, while we wait for Liam to be ready to join us. And I sit and read to you Guards, my very first actual experience of reading a Terry Pratchett book. So, Guards, a Discworld novel. Dedication. They may be called the Palace Guard, the City Guard, or the Patrol. Whatever their name, their purpose in any work of heroic fantasy is identical. It is, round about chapter 3, or 10 minutes into the film, to rush into the room, attack the hero one at a time, and be slaughtered. No one ever asks if they wanted to. This book is dedicated to those fine men, and also to Mike Harrison, Mary Gentle, Neil Gaiman, and all the others who assisted with and laughed at the idea of L-Space. Too bad we've never used Schrodinger's paperback. This is where the dragons went. They lie. Not dead, not asleep, not waiting, because waiting implies expectation. Possibly the word we're looking for here is dormant. And although the space they occupy isn't like normal space, nevertheless, they are packed in tightly. Not a cubic inch there, but it's filled by a claw, a talon, a scale, the tip of the tail. So the effect is like one of those trick drawings, and your eyeballs eventually realize that the space between each dragon is, in fact, another dragon. They could put you in a mind of a can of sardines, if you thought sardines were huge and scaly and proud and arrogant, and presumably, somewhere, there's the key. In another space entirely, it was early morning in Ankh-Morpork, oldest and greatest and grubbiest of the cities. A thin drizzle dripped from the grey sky and punctuated the river mist that cobbled among the streets. Rats of various species went about their nocturnal occasions. Under night's damp cloak, assassins assassinated, thieves thieved, hussies hustled, and so on. And drunken Captain Vimes of the night watch staggered slowly down the street, folded gently into the gutter outside the watch-house, and lay there a while. Above him, strange letters made of light sizzled in the damp and changed colour. The city was name, thing, woman, that's what it was, woman, roaring, ancient, centuries old, strung you along, let you fall in thingy love with her, then kicked you in a thingy in your mouth, tongue, tonsils, teeth. That's what she did. She was a thing, lady dog, puppy, hen, bitch. And then you hated her, and just when you thought you'd got it out of your whatever, then she opened her great booming rotten heart to you, caught you off bell thing, ants. Yeah, that's it. Never knew where you stood. Lay, only thing you were sure of, you couldn't let her go, because she was yours, all you had, even in her gutters. Damp darkness shrouded the venerable buildings of Unseen University. Premier College, Wizardry. The only light was a faint octarine flicker from the light windows of the new high energy. Magic buildings, where keen-edged minds were probing the very fabric of the universe, whether it liked it or not. And there was light, of course, in the library. The library was the greatest assemblage of magical texts anywhere in the multiverse. Thousands of volumes of occult lore weighted its shelves. It was said that since vast amounts of magic can seriously distort the mundane world, the library did not obey the normal rules of space and time. It was said that it went on forever. It was said that you could wander for days among the distant shelves, that there were lost tribes of research students somewhere in there, that strange things lurked in forgotten alcoves and preyed on by other things that were even stranger. Alright, seems we have a footnote. Footnote 1. All this was untrue. The truth is that even big collections of ordinary books distort space and can readily be proved by anyone who has been around a really old-fashioned second-hand bookshop. One of those that look like they were designed by M. Escher on a bad day, and has more staircases than stories, and those rows of shelves which end in little doors that are surely too small for a full-sized human to enter. The relevant equation is knowledge equals power equals energy equals matter. A good bookshop is just a black hole that knows how to read. That was nice. Alright. Why students in search of more distant volumes took care to leave chalk marks on the shelves as they roamed deeper into the fusty darkness, and told friends to come looking for them if they weren't back by supper. And because magic can only loosely be bound, the library books themselves were more than mere pulped wood and paper. Raw magic crackled from their spines, earthing itself harmlessly in the copper rails nailed to every shelf for that very purpose. Faint traceries of blue fire crawled across the bookcases, and there was a sound, a papery whispering, such as might come from a colony of roosting starlings in the silence of the night. The books talked to one another. There was also the sound of someone snoring. The light from the shelves didn't so much illuminate as highlight the darkness, but by its violent flicker a watcher might just have identified an ancient and battered desk right under the central dome. The snoring was coming from underneath, where a piece of tattered blanket barely covered what looked like a heap of sandbags, but was in fact an adult male orangutan. It was the librarian. Not many people these days remarked upon the fact that he was an ape. The change had been brought about by a magical accident, always a possibility, where so many powerful books are kept together, and he was considered to have got off lightly. After all, he was still basically the same shape, and he had been allowed to keep his job, which he was rather good at, although allowed is not really the right word. It was the way he could roll his upper lip back to reveal more incredibly yellow teeth than any other mouth the University Council had ever seen before that somehow made sure the matter was never really raised. But now there was another sound, the alien sound of a door creaking open. Footsteps pattered across the floor and disappeared among the clustering shelves. The books rustled indignantly, and some of the larger grimoires rattled their chains. The librarian slept on, lulled by the whispering of the rain. In the embrace of his gutter, half a mile away, Captain Vimes of the Night Watch opened his mouth and started to sing. Now, a black-robed figure scurried through the midnight streets, ducking from doorway to doorway, and reached a grim and forbidding portal. No mere doorway got that grim without effort, one felt. It looked as though the architect had been called in and given specific instructions. We want something eldritch in dark oak, he'd been told. So put an unpleasant gargoyle thing over the archway, give it a slam like the football of a giant, and make it clear to everyone, in fact, that this isn't the kind of door that goes ding-dong when you press the bell. The figure rapped a complex code on the dark woodwork. A tiny barred hatch opened, and one suspicious eye peered out. "The significant owl hoots in the night," said the visitor, trying to wring the rainwater out of its robe. "Yes, many grey lords go sadly to the masterless men," intoned on the other side of the grill. "Hooray, hooray for the spinster's sister's daughter," countered the dripping figure. "To the axeman all supplicants are the same height. Yet verily the rose is within the thorn." "The good mother makes bean soup for the errant boy," said the voice behind the door. There was a pause, broken only by the sound of the rain. Then the visitor said, "What?" "The good mother makes bean soup for the errant boy." There was another, longer pause. Then the damp figure said, "Are you sure the ill-built tower doesn't tremble mightily at a butterfly's passage?" "Nope, bean soup it is. I'm sorry." The rain hissed down relentlessly in the embarrassed silence. "What about the caged whale?" said the soaking visitor, trying to squeeze into what little shelter the dread portal offered. "What about it?" It should know nothing of the mighty depths, if you must know." "Oh, the caged whale! You want the elucidated brethren of the Ebon Knight 3 doors down. Who are you, then?" "We're the illuminated and ancient brethren of E." "I thought you met over in Treacle Street," said the damp man after a while. "Yeah, well, you know how it is. The Fretwork Club have the room on Tuesdays. There was a bit of a mix-up." "Oh, well, thanks anyway. My pleasure." The little door slammed shut. The robed figure glared at it for a moment, and then splashed further down the street. There was indeed another portal there. The builder hadn't bothered to change the design much. He knocked. The little barred hatch shot back. "Yes?" "Look, the significant owl hoots in the night, all right? Yet many grey lords go sadly to the masterless men. Hooray, hooray for the spinster's sister's daughter, okay? To the axemen all supplicants are the same height. Yet verily the rose is within the thorn. It's pissing down out here. You do know that, don't you?" "Yes," said the voice in the tones of one who does indeed know, and is not the one standing in it. The visitor sighed. "The caged whale knows nothing of the mighty deeps," he said, "if it makes you any happier. The ill-built tower trembles mightily at a butterfly's passage." The supplicant grabbed the bars of the window, pulled himself up to it, and hissed, "Now let us in. I'm soaked." There was another damp pause. "These deeps. Did you say mighty or nightly?" "Mighty," I said. "Mighty deeps, on account of being, you know, deep. It's me, Brother Fingers." "Sounded like nightly to me," said the invisible doorkeeper cautiously. "Look, do you want the bloody book or not? I don't have to do this. I could be at home in bed." "You sure it was mighty?" "Listen, I know how deep the bloody deeps are, all right, said Brother Fingers urgently. I knew how mighty they were when you were a perishing neophyte. Now will you open this door? Well, all right. There was the sound of bolts sliding back. Then the voice said, would you mind giving it a push? The door of knowledge, though through which the untutored may not pass, sticks something wicked in the damp. Brother Fingers put his shoulder to it, forced his way through, gave Brother Doorkeeper a dirty look, and hurried within. The others were waiting for him in the inner sanctum, standing around with the sheepish air of people not normally accustomed to wearing sinister hooded black robes. The Supreme Grand Master nodded at him. Brother Fingers, isn't it? Yes, Supreme Grand Master. Do you have that which you were sent to get? Brother Fingers pulled a package from under his robe. Just where I said it would be, he said. No problem. Well done, Brother Fingers. Thank you, Supreme Grand Master. The Supreme Grand Master rapped his gavel for attention. The room shuffled into some sort of circle. I call the unique and supreme lord of the lodge of the elucidated brethren to order, he intoned. Is the door of knowledge sealed fast against heretics and knowless men? Stuck solid, said Brother Doorkeeper. It's the damp. I'll bring back my plane next week. Soon have it. All right, said the Supreme Grand Master testily. Just a yes would have done. It's the triple circle well and truly traced. Art all here who art here, and it be well for an knowless man that he should not be here, for he would be taken from this place, and his gaskin slit, his moles shown to the four winds, his welchet torn asunder with many hooks, and his friggin' placed upon a spike. Yes, what is it? Sorry, did you say elucidated, brethren? The Supreme Grand Master glared at the solitary figure with its hand up. Yes, the elucidated, brethren, guardian of the sacred knowledge since a time no man may wot of. Last February, said Brother Doorkeeper helpfully. The Supreme Grand Master felt that Brother Doorkeeper had never really got the hang of things. Sorry, said the worried figure. Wrong society, I'm afraid. Must have taken a wrong turning. I'll just be going, if you'll excuse me. And his figgin placed upon a spike, repeated the Supreme Grand Master pointedly, against the background of damp wooden noises, as Brother Doorkeeper tried to get the dread portal open. Are we quite finished? Any more knowless men happen to drop in on their way somewhere else? He added with bitter sarcasm. Right, fine. So glad. I suppose it's too much to ask the four watchmen ask if the four watchtowers are secured. Oh, good. And the trouser of sanctity? Has anyone bothered to shriv it? Oh, you did? Properly? I'll check, you know. All right. And have the windows been fastened with the red cords of intellect, in accordance with ancient prescription? Good. Now perhaps we can get on with it. With a slightly miffed air of one who has run their finger along a daughter-in-law's top shelf, and found against all expectation that it is sparkling clean, the Grand Master got on with it. What a shower, he told himself. A bunch of incompetents no other secret society would touch with a 10-foot sceptre of authority. The sort to dislocate their fingers with even the simplest secret handshake. But incompetence with possibilities nevertheless. Let the other societies take the skilled, the hopefuls, the ambitious, the self-confident. He'd take the whining resentful ones, the ones with a belly full of spite and bile, the ones who knew they could make it big if only they'd been given the chance. Give him the ones in the floods of venom and vindictiveness were straight up behind thin walls of ineptitude and low-grade paranoia. And stupidity, too. They've all sworn the oath, he thought, but not a man jack of them has even asked what it friggin' is. Brethren, he said, Tonight we have matters of profound importance to discuss. The good governance, nay, the very future of Ankh-Morpork, lies in our hands. They lean closer. The Supreme Grand Master felt the beginnings of the old thrill of power. They were hanging on his words. This was a feeling worth dressing up in bloody silly robes for. Do we not well know that the city is in thrall to corrupt men, who wax fat on their ill-gotten gains, while better men are held back and forced into virtual servitude? We certainly do, said Brother Doorkeeper vehemently, when they'd had time to translate this mentally. Only last week down at the Bakers' Guild, I tried to point out to Master Cratchley that it wasn't eye contact, because the Supreme Grand Master had made sure that the Brethren's hood shrouded their faces in mystic darkness. But nevertheless, he managed to silence Brother Doorkeeper by dint of sheer, outraged silence. Yet, it was not always thus, the Supreme Grand Master continued. There was once a golden age, when those worthy of command and respect were justly rewarded. An age when Ankh-Morpork wasn't simply a big city, but a great one. An age of chivalry. An age when, yes, Brother Watchtower. A bulky robed figure lowered its hand. Are you talking about when we had kings? Well done, brother, said the Supreme Grand Master, slightly annoyed at this unusual evidence of intelligence. And that was all sorted out hundreds of years ago, said Brother Watchtower. Wasn't there this great battle or something? And since then we've just had the ruling lords like the patrician. Yes, very good, Brother Watchtower. There aren't any more kings, is the point I'm trying to make, said Brother Watchtower hopefully. As Brother Watchtower says, the line of, it was you talking about chivalry that gave me the clue, said Brother Watchtower. Quite so. And you get that with kings, chivalry, said Brother Watchtower happily, and knights, and they used to have these. However, said the Supreme Grand Master sharply, it may well be that the line of the kings of Ankh is not as defunct as hitherto imagined, and that progeny of the line exists even now. Thus my researches among the ancient scrolls do indicate. He stood back expectantly. There didn't seem to be the effect he'd expected. However, probably they can manage defunct, he thought. But I ought to have drawn the line at progeny. Brother Watchtower had his hand up again. Yes? You saying there's some sort of heir to the throne hanging around somewhere? Said Brother Watchtower. This may be the case, yes. Yeah, they do that, you know, said Brother Watchtower knowledgeably. Happens all the time, you read about it. Scions, they're called. They go lurking around in the distant wilderness for ages, handing down the secret sword and birthmark and so forth from generation to generation. Then just when the old kingdom needs them, they turn up and turf out any usurpers that happen to be around, and then there's general rejoicing. The Supreme Grand Master felt his own mouth drop open. He hadn't expected it to be as easy as this. Yes, all right, said a figure the Supreme Grand Master knew to be Brother Plasterer. But so what? Let's say a scion turns up, walks up to the patrician, says, What ho, I'm king. Here's the birthmark as per spec. Now bugger off. What's he got then? Life expectancy of maybe 2 minutes, that's what. You don't listen, said Brother Watchtower. The thing is, the scion has to arrive when the kingdom is threatened, doesn't he? Then everyone can see, right? Then he gets carried off to the palace, cures a few people, announces a half-holiday, hands around a bit of treasure, and Bob's your uncle. He has to marry a princess too, said Brother Doorkeeper, on account of him being a swineherd. They looked at him. Who said anything about him being a swineherd? Said Brother Watchtower. I never said he was a swineherd. What's this about swineherds? He's got a point though, said Brother Plasterer. He's generally a swineherd or a forester or similar. Your basic scion. It's to do with being in, what's name, cognito. They've got to appear to be of, humble origins. Nothing special about humble origins, said a very small brother who seemed to consist entirely of a self-preambulatory black robe with halitosis. I've got lots of humble origins in my family. Thought swineherding was a posh job. But your family doesn't have the blood of kings, Brother Dunnington, said Brother Plasterer. We might have, said Brother Dunnington sulkily. Right then, said Brother Watchtower grudgingly. Fair enough. But at the essential moment, see, your genuine kings throw back their cloak and say, lo, and their essential kingliness shines through. How exactly? Said Brother Doorkeeper. Might have got the blood of kings, muttered Brother Dunnington. Got no right saying I might not have got the blood of... Look, it just does, okay? You just know it when you see it. But before they've got to save the kingdom, said Brother Plasterer. Oh yes, said Brother Watchtower heavily. That's the main thing, is that. What from then? Got as much right as anyone to might have the blood of kings. The patrician, said Brother Doorkeeper. Brother Watchtower, as the sudden authority on the ways of royalty, shook his head. I don't know that the patrician is a threat exactly. He said he's not your actual tyrant as such. Not as bad as some we've had. I mean, he doesn't actually oppress. I get oppressed all the time, said Brother Doorkeeper. Master Critchley here, where I work, he oppresses me morning, noon and night, shouting at me and everything. And the woman in the vegetable shop, she oppresses me all the time. That's right, said Brother Plasterer. My landlord oppresses me something wicked, banging on the door and going on about all the rent I allegedly owe, which is a total lie. And the people next door oppress me all night long. I tell them I work all day, a man's got to have some time to play the tuba. That's oppression, that is. If I'm not under the heel of the oppressor, I don't know who is. Put like that, said Brother Watchtower slowly, I reckon my brother-in-law is oppressing me all the time with having this new horse and buggy he's been and bought. I haven't got one. I mean, where's the justice in that? I bet a king wouldn't let that sort of oppression go on. People's wives oppressing him with why they haven't got a new coach like our Rodney said that. And that. The Supreme Grand Master listened to this with a slightly light-headed feeling. It was as if he'd known that there was such things as avalanches, but had never dreamed when he dropped the little snowball on top of the mountain that it could lead to such astonishing results. He was hardly having to egg them on at all. Bet a king'd have something to say about landlords, said Brother Plasterer, and he'd outlaw people with showy coaches, said Brother Watchtower. Probably bought with stolen money too, I reckon. I think, said the Supreme Grand Master, tweaking things a little, that a wise king would only, as it were, outlaw showy coaches for the undeserving. There was a thoughtful pause in the conversation as the assembled brethren mentally divided the universe into the deserving and the undeserving, and put themselves on the appropriate side. It'd be only fair, said Brother Watchman slowly, but Brother Plasterer was right. Really, I can't see a Skyer manifesting his destiny just because Brother Doorkeeper thinks the woman in the vegetable shop keeps giving him funny looks. No offence. And bloody short wait, said Brother Doorkeeper. And she... Yes, said the Supreme Grand Master. Truly the right-thinking folk of Ankh-Morpork are beneath the heel of the oppressors. However, a king generally reveals himself in rather more dramatic circumstances, like a war, for example. Things were going well. Surely, for all their self-centered stupidity, one of them would be bright enough to make the suggestion. There used to be some old prophecy or something, said Brother Plasterer. My granddad told me. His eyes glazed with the effort of dramatic recall. Yeah, the king will come bringing law and justice, and know nothing but the truth, and protect and serve the people with his sword. You don't all have to look at me like that. I didn't make it up. Oh, we all know that one, and a fat lot of good that be, said Brother Watchtower. I mean, what does he do? Ride in with law and truth and so on, like the four horsemen of the apocalypse? I don't know if that's a typo. or if that's an actual Pratchettism. Apocalypse? Hello, everyone, he squeaked. I'm the king, and that's Truth over there, watering his horse. Not very practical, isn't it? Nah, you can't trust old legends. Why not? Said Brother Dunnikin in a peeved voice. 'Cause they're legendary, that's how you can tell, said Brother Watchtower. Sleeping princesses is a good one, said Brother Plasterer. Only a king can wake 'em up. Don't be daft, said Brother Watchtower severely. We haven't got a king, so we can't have princesses. Stands to reason. Of course, in the old days it was easy, said Brother Doorkeeper happily. Why? He just had to kill a dragon. The Supreme Grand Master clapped his hands together and offered a silent prayer to any god who happened to be listening. He'd been right about these people. Sooner or later, their rambling little minds took them where you wanted them to go. What an interesting idea, he trilled. Wouldn't work, said Brother Watchtower dourly. There ain't no big dragons now. There could be. The Supreme Grand Master cracked his knuckles. Come again, said Brother Watchtower. I said there could be. There was a nervous laugh from the depths of Brother Watchtower's cowl. What, the real thing? Great big scales and wings? Yes. Breath like a blast furnace? Yes. Them big claws on its feet? Talons? Oh yes, as many as you want. What do you mean as many as I want? I would hope it's self-explanatory, Brother Watchtower. If you want dragons, you can have dragons. You can bring a dragon here, now, into the city. Me? All of you. I mean, us, said the Supreme Grand Master. Brother Watchtower hesitated. Well, I don't know if that's a very good, and it would obey your every command. That stopped them. That pulled them up. That dropped in front of their weaselly little minds like a lump of meat in a dog pound. Can you just repeat that? Said Brother Plasterer slowly. You can control it. You can make it do whatever you want. What, a real dragon? The Supreme Grand Master's eyes rolled in the privacy of his hood. Yes, a real one, not a little pet swamp dragon, the genuine article. But I thought they were, myths. The Supreme Grand Master leaned forward. Ugh, and yawned because I totally only woke up an hour ago. Anyway. So I've broken the flow now. Hi Goddamn Carboy, hi Dubious by Nature, and hi Eternity 7. We are up to... There's no pages in the ebook, in the Kindle thing. So, we're not very far in at all. Like, we're probably at like page 5 or 6 or something like that at this point. While we're at it, I'll just check to see if Liam has done the thing. Discworld is fucking great. Cool. Liam, do let me know when you're ready to get started. Or actually, just let me know when you're probably close to getting, like, if the buzzer rings or whatever, like, if you get some form of signal that you'll be ready soon, let me know so I can finish whatever because this doesn't have chapters. It sort of has, from what I understand it, there's paragraphs, there's breaks only when it changes character. So give me a heads up, and I'll stop at the next change of character to make it easier for me next time I pick it up again. All right. The Supreme Grand Master leaned forward. They were myths, and they were real, he said loudly. Both a wave and a particle. You've lost me there, said Brother Plasterer. I will demonstrate then. The book, please. Brother Fingers, thank you. Brethren, I must tell you that when I was undergoing my tuition by the secret masters... The what, Supreme Grand Master? Said the Plasterer. Why don't you listen? You never listen. He said the secret masters, said Brother Watchtower. You know, the venerable sages that live on some mountain and secretly run everything, and taught him all this lore and that, and can walk on fires and that. He told us last week he's going to teach us, aren't you, Supreme Grand Master? He finished obsequiously. Obsequiously. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that word correctly. I know I've encountered it before, but I can't quite recall if that is correct. Regardless. Oh, the secret masters, said Brother Plasterer. Sorry, it's these mystic hoods. Sorry, secret. I remember. But when I rule the city, the Supreme Grand Master said to himself, there is going to be none of this. I shall form a new secret society of keen-minded and intelligent men, although not too intelligent, of course, not too intelligent. And we will overthrow the cold tyrant, and we will usher in a new age of enlightenment and fraternity and humanism, and Ankh-Morpork will become a utopia, and people like Brother Plasterer will be roasted over slow fires, if I have any say in the matter, which I will, and his figgin. Ooh, we have another footnote. A figgin is defined, yay, we finally get a definition, in the dictionary of eye-watering words as a small short crust pasty containing raisins. The dictionary would have been invaluable for the Supreme Grand Master when he thought up the society's oaths, since it also included welchet, a type of waistcoat worn by certain clockmakers, gaskin, a shy grey-brown bird of the coot family, and moles, a game of skill and dexterity involving tortoises. This is why dictionaries are important, people. When I was, as I said, undergoing my tuition by the secret masters, he continued. That was where they told you had to walk on rice paper, wasn't it? Said Brother Watchtower conversationally. I always thought that was a good bit. I've been saving it off the bottom of my macaroons ever since. Amazing, really. I can walk on it no trouble. Shows what being in a proper secret society does for you, does that? When he is on the griddle, the Supreme Grand Master thought, Brother Plasterer will not be lonely. Your footfalls on the road of enlightenment are an example to us all, Brother Watchtower, he said. If I may continue, however, among the many secrets from the heart of being, said Brother Watchtower approvingly, from the heart of being, from the heart, as Brother Watchtower says, of being, was the current location of the noble dragons. The belief that they died out is quite wrong. They simply found a new evolutionary niche, and they can be summoned from it. This book, he flourished it, gives specific instructions. It's just in a book, said Brother Plasterer. No ordinary book. This is the only copy. It has taken me years to track it down, said the Supreme Grand Master. It's in the handwriting of Tubal de Malachite, a great student of dragon lore. His actual handwriting. He summoned dragons of all sizes, and so can you. There was another long, awkward silence. Said Brother Doorkeeper. Sounds a bit like, magic to me, said Brother Watchtower in the nervous tone of the man who has spotted which cup the pea is hidden under, but doesn't like to say. I mean, not wishing to question your supreme wisdom and all that, but, well, magic. His voice trailed off. Yeah, said Brother Plaster uncomfortably. It's, the wizards, see, said Brother Fingers. You probably didn't know this, but when you was banging up with them venerable Herberts on the mountain, but the wizards round here come down on you like a ton of bricks if they catch you doing anything like that. Demarcation, they call it, said Brother Plasterer. Like I don't go around fiddling with the mystic interleave what's names of causality, and they don't do any plastering. I fail to see the problem, said the Supreme Grand Master. In fact, he saw it all too clearly. This was the last hurdle. Help their tiny minds over this, and he held the world in the palm of his hand. Their stupefyingly unintelligent self-interest hadn't let him down so far. Surely it couldn't fail him now. The brethren shuffled uneasily. Then Brother Dunnykins spoke. Huh, wizards. What do they know about a day's work? The Supreme Grand Master breathed deeply. Ah. The air of mean-mindedness, resentfulness thickened noticeably. Nothing, and that's a fact, said Brother Fingers. Going around with their noses in the air, too good for the likes of us. I used to see 'em when I worked up in the university. Backsides a mile wide, I'm telling you. Catch 'em doing a job of honest toil. Like thieving, you mean, said Brother Watchtower, who had never liked Brother Fingers much. Of course they tell you, Brother Fingers went on, pointedly ignoring the comment, that you shouldn't go around doing magic on account of only them knowing about not disturbing the universal harmony and whatnot. Load of rubbish, in my opinion. Well, said Brother Plasterer, I don't know, really. I mean, you get the mix wrong, you just got a lot of damp plaster around your ankles. But get a bit of magic wrong, and they say ghastly things come out of the woodwork and stitches you right up. Yeah, but it's the wizards that say that, said Brother Watchtower thoughtfully. Never could stand them myself, to tell you the truth. Could be they're onto a thing and don't want the rest of us to find out. It's only waving your arms and chanting when all's said and done. Is this big farmer, big wizard? Like that? Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Like rampant anti-intellectualism directed against wizards. I love it. The brethren considered this. It sounded plausible. If they were onto a good thing, they certainly wouldn't want anyone else muscling in. The Supreme Grand Master decided that the time was ripe. I am sorry about that. I hope all of your ears are intact. But Scion is said as Scion. Yeah, it's spelt with a K here. Hence why I've been pronouncing it Skyon. Because, yeah, Scion spelt with a C, it's a soft C. It's like a silent. But, yeah, this, every time it's come up, they've spelt it with a K. Again, I'm not sure if that's a typo from when somebody actually made this document, or if that's originally in Terry Pratchett's work. There's been a couple of occasions where I'm not sure if it's a typo or if it's original. It really could be either way, because this is, well, this. Alright, where was I? There we go. The time was ripe. Then we are agreed, brethren. You are prepared to practice magic. Oh, practice, said Brother Plasterer, relieved. I don't mind practicing, so long as we don't have to do it for real. The Supreme Grand Master thumped the book. I mean carry out real spells, put the city back on the right line, summon a dragon, he shouted. They took a step back. Then Brother Doorkeeper said, and then, if we get this dragon, the rightful king will turn up just like that. Yes, said the Supreme Grand Master. I can see that, said Brother Watchtower supportively. Stands to reason, because of destiny and the gnomic workings of fate. Wow, that's such a... Sorry, I'm impressed by the... It's more of an etymological reference there, the usage of the term gnomic. Yeah, go look that one up if you're interested. Just etymology of gnomic and that. Anyway, not D&D gnomes, I'll give you that. There was a moment's hesitation, and then a general nodding of cows. Only Brother Plasterer looked vaguely unhappy. Well, he said, it won't get out of hand, will it? I assure you, Brother Plasterer, that you can give it up any time you like, said the Supreme Grand Master smoothly. Well, all right, said the reluctant brother. Just for a bit, then. Could we get it to stay here long enough to burn down, for example, any oppressive vegetable shops? Ah, he'd won. There'd be dragons again, and a king again. Not like the old kings, a king who would do what he was told. That, said the Supreme Grand Master, depends on how much help you can be. We shall need, initially, any items of magic you can bring. Might not be a good idea to let them see that the last half of D. Malachite's book was a charred lump. The man was clearly not up to it. He could do a lot better, and absolutely no one would be able to stop him. Thunder roll. Alright, that's the, let me see if, Liam has, said anything. We've reached a personality break. I don't know what to call it specifically. It's a break. Alright. Is the Liam ready? Actually, while I'm at it, let me see if people have commented on the Facebook as well. Might as well respond there if people are doing the talkie. I don't remember the massive sneeze in the book. A personal talking book whilst I sit here working. I'm glad that you're enjoying it then. And what are you talking about? That sneeze was always in the book. Always. All right. Liam is just about ready to start, so this is actually probably a really good time to stop and pause. I'll say this now. I am liking it so far. I freaking love the footnotes. I love that they exist and that they're just like the two that I've seen so far. They're both side jokes, and I love it. That by itself is freaking brilliant, and I love it. It's getting some build up. I do like that aside from the Supreme Grand Master, all of who I assume will be the bad guys are just idiots who've been fooled into it. Yeah. Also, I spotted a nice, I feel like there was little references, like just those tiny little references to things in British comedy. I like it so far. I'm thinking though, before I stop this video, and get to the true purpose of today, which is the Dark Souls stream, please join me with that. But if you spot a reference, if you spot something interesting while I'm reading through this book, mention it. Drop it in the comments. At some point, I'll look over to the comments, probably doing a break, and go over the references that people have spotted. If you've read Discworld before, obviously that I believe that there would be references from one book to the other, like either as little Easter eggs or just as, subtle references or whatever. But like if you spot anything else, like I'll go a little bit into the gnomic thing at the moment. So, like, gnomic has a lot of different connotations than modern meaning. So, obviously, these days, gnomic, gnomes are a D&D thing. They're short little magic people, but they weren't always like that. So gnomic as a word means something kind of short and mysterious. Hence, gnomes. They are short and mysterious. in the same way that leprechauns are, and that sort of thing. But in addition to that, gnomes were never like I don't know if it's the first reference, but it's one of the earlier references that I'm familiar of, like for how gnomes really entered into popular culture. Um, the Wizard of Oz, the Gnome King, who is kind of like a magic rock giant, um, and has power over stone. He's one of the villains. I think he's the biggest villain across the entire series of books, because the Wizard of Oz is a series of books. Um, I believe he's the longest recurring villain. I think he appeared in the second or maybe the third book, and he appears in a few of the other books. Um, Gnomes were, you know, were kind of like your typical, like what they were kind of like imps, but more powerful. Like there's a version of the gnome whose power comes from his hat. You remove his hat, like garden gnome style, and he loses his power. But with that power, he'd play pranks, sometimes dangerous pranks, or if you're familiar with the condition of sleep paralysis, these gnomes would be responsible for sleep paralysis and things like that. Like, gnomes were, they were short, mysterious. Sometimes they were wise. Usually they were wise, but they were quite often villainous. Or at least in some literature they were. Regardless, I am. Oh yeah, the Gnome King in the Wizard of Oz literature. Um, he was basically like he loved gemstones. His big thing was all of the gemstones and everything that in the earth belonged to him, and that was a big part of why he was a villain, because people who do mining or have precious gemstones as jewelry, and or the Emerald City, emeralds coming from underground, all of those emeralds he believed belonged to him, and stuff like that. Anyway, we're going to stop the reading of the Terry Pratchett here. I'm probably going to bring it up again later. What I want to do with this is to just read it, either if something goes wrong with the stream, just read this in place of the stream, or if I run a stream, maybe after the stream, do an hour of reading through this, just as a bit of a wind down for people, and just as a bit of a chill thing. Regardless, if you enjoyed this, if you want it done more often, if you'd like something more regular, or if you're happy with how I'm doing it, how I've just proposed doing it, drop me a line, let me know. Because I'm happy to shift it around how I do things, based on what I assess will work best. Currently, my assessment is this, but happy to change it. Anyway, Liam looks like he's ready, so I'm going to shut this down, reconfigure the screen for the stream, and I'll see you all soon. Farewell.